the Jezebel who exposed herself. For 7 months, Liam had been caught in her elaborate web, a masterclass in manipulation so skillfully crafted he hadn't recognized the silken threads tightening around him until they had nearly cut off his circulation. Rebecca had arrived in his life like a revelation. Their first meeting at his friend's gallery opening had felt scripted by fate. Her passionate knowledge of his favorite obscure artists, her seemingly effortless understanding of his creative vision, her ability to finish his thoughts before he could articulate them himself. "I've never connected with anyone like this," she'd said, eyes wide with what appeared to be genuine wonder. "It's like you're speaking directly to my soul." The attraction had been magnetic, immediate, and all-consuming. Within weeks, she had become his confidant, his muse, his advocate in professional circles. Her praise elevated him. Her criticism, always delivered with tearful concern for his highest good, became the standard by which he measured his work and worth. What Liam couldn't see then was the calculated precision behind each interaction. How she studied him before approaching. How she'd researched his interests, his weaknesses, his wounds. How she'd crafted her personality into his perfect complement, becoming whatever he unconsciously sought. The red flags appeared gradually. The subtle ways she isolated him from friends whose perspectives might challenge her influence. The dramatic crises that invariably erupted whenever he had important deadlines or opportunities. The stories of her past that shifted like sand, revealing contradictions he was made to feel cruel for questioning. "You're the only one who truly understands me," became her refrain, paired with, "Everyone else eventually abandons me." The breaking point came unexpectedly, not through some dramatic revelation, but through silence, a gift of circumstances that removed him temporarily from her sphere. A 2-week creative retreat where participants surrendered their phones and internet access, focusing solely on their craft without external influence. 7 days into the digital detox, Liam felt as if he'd emerged from a fog. Clarity returned like oxygen to a suffocating man. In this space of quiet, without Rebecca's voice constantly shaping his reality, he began to recognize the patterns that had defined their relationship. On the 11th day, he made his decision. No confrontation, no dramatic exit. Simply a quiet, firm step back into his own truth. Upon returning home, he changed his approach completely. When she called with an emergency, he expressed brief sympathy but didn't rush to her side. When she criticized his new work, he noted her opinion without defending or adjusting his vision. When she attempted to triangulate against mutual friends, he declined to engage in the drama. The transformation in her was immediate and revealing. What had been loving concern morphed into cold fury. The intuitive connection she'd claimed deteriorated into accusations of abandonment and betrayal. The spiritual insights she'd shared twisted into veiled threats about karmic retribution. "You've changed," she accused during their final conversation, voice trembling not with hurt but with barely controlled rage. "I've returned to myself," he corrected gently. Most revealing was what happened after he stopped engaging completely. The smear campaign began within days, elaborate stories shared with mutual friends portraying her as the wounded spiritual healer who had tried to save him from his self-destructive patterns. When thus, default text. What Rebecca had never understood was that her power existed only within the dynamic of engagement. Her manipulations required participation, reaction, emotional investment. Without these, her carefully constructed persona collapsed under its own weight, revealing the emptiness beneath. The spiritual community they shared had a name for this archetype: the Jezebel spiritan energy that operated through seduction, manipulation, and control, draining authentic power while masquerading as love and support. What made it so effective was its ability to mirror authentic connections so convincingly that its targets believed they were experiencing the divine rather than its distortion. 6 months after his retreat from the relationship, Liam encountered Rebecca at a gallery opening. She was animated, engrossed in conversation with a man who looked at her with the same wonder Liam once had hanging on her words, visibly moved by what appeared to be profound spiritual insights. Their eyes met briefly across the room. In that moment of recognition, Liam saw something flicker across her face, not shame or regret, but a flash of calculation quickly masked by a serene smile. She had already rewritten their history, casting herself as the enlightened teacher who had attempted to guide him toward truth. Liam simply nodded once and turned away, neither confrontational nor afraid. The encounter confirmed what his silence had revealed months earlier. Without his engagement, she had no power over his reality. The elaborate deception had exposed itself the moment he stopped participating in it. In this revelation came his most profound healing understanding that true connection never demands surrender of self, that authentic spiritual bond enhances rather than diminishes personal power, and that sometimes the most powerful response to manipulation is not confrontation, but the quiet reclamation of one's own narrative. The lie had indeed fallen apart the moment he stopped engaging. And in that collapse, Liam had discovered something invaluable, the uncheckable truth of his own being, which no external force, however seductive, could ever truly possess.